Want to be sure you're getting the most out of your retirement for all the years of your retirement? That's the primary goal of More Living with Jim Brogan and our Dollars and Cents segment, where we provide you with an important financial tip that will help positively impact the quality of your life in retirement. And now here's Jim with this week's Dollars and Cents tip.
How will the presidential election affect the stock market? I'm asked that question almost every day, and actually the feedback I get from you throughout the community is that the presidential election could have a tremendous impact on the stock market. What do I think? Because I get asked that all the time. First off, if you look at historically, how does the presidential election affect the stock market? The more important question really is, how does the stock market affect the election? Because actually what happens in the 2 or 3 months preceding the election has a very, very profound impact on who has won the election in the past. But to get to the underlying issue, many of you are worried about where we are politically. We've talked about this on this show, and what I'm talking about there is just the gridlock and that things are broken in Washington. And so you're very concerned about the election and how that plays out and how that affects our markets and how it affects your money. And here would be a thought that I have on that. I think the actual election itself, just to be honest with you, I don't personally see that in the short term it would have some dramatic effect on the stock market. And I'm hearing that a lot, is you think that if it works out a certain way, it would have this profound impact on the stock market. I don't see that because, we have the presidential administration and we have the House and the Senate. And I do believe very strongly that we will continue to have a divided government after the election, meaning that we won't have one, either the Republicans or Democrats that'll control the presidency, the House, and the Senate. And so, I think these issues we've had with having gridlock and dirty politics and everybody drawing lines and no compromise, the system that's broken that we've talked about and that you talk about when you call in, I just think we're still going to have those things. Now, the election could certainly have a dramatic effect on policies over the next 4 years. So I think the long-term effect, when we look out 3, 4, 5, 6 years, and even 10 to 20 years, I think that could be more of a profound impact with the policies that are put in place the next 4 years because of the challenges we have with our national debt and the aging of the population. But in the short term, just to be honest, I just don't see how the presidential election is going to have some big, dramatic, profound impact on the stock market. Of bigger consequence would be all those things happening in December that we've talked about with the fiscal cliff, the expiration of the Bush tax cuts, the spending cuts, we got the Europe, we have another debt ceiling at the end of the year. So all those things to me are going to have much more dramatic impact on the stock market. Now, the election certainly could affect the gridlock, but I think we'll still have a divided government, so we're still going to be dealing with issues. Now, it may be different issues with one versus the other on the president's side, but I just don't see a huge impact. So how does that affect you? I think, again, going back to what I said in the first segment today, there's just such tremendous uncertainty the last part of this year, and I think you need to be erring on the side of caution. If you look at risk versus reward, I just think there's a whole lot more downside risk right now than there is upside reward potential. Now, I do think going into 2013, if we can get through all this, it could be the other way around. I think there could be a lot more upside reward potential than downside risk. But right now, to me, there's a whole lot more bad things that can happen than a whole lot more good things. But ultimately, if you have the right kind of financial plan, then you can be disciplined through all this and not worry about the short-term volatility because you're looking out over 5 to 10 years. And even in retirement, where you're drawing a retirement check, if your income plan is set up properly, you really ought to be looking out over 5 or 10 years.
And that's our Dollars and Cents segment for this week. You can find this week's Dollars and Cents segment and others by visiting BroganFinancial.com.